Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Worldwide Football. As always, I'm your host, Connor Pajuelo, here with my co-host, Matthew Rothman, and our team member, Alejandro. Johnny, unfortunately, cannot be with us tonight. However, he has left me something to give to the world of football that we will touch in on a later segment. But for now, we're here to talk about the end of the round of 16 of the Champions League. What absolute games we saw the last week or so. And overall, I would say our teams did fairly well, apart from one, which again, we'll touch onto that when we get to it. But overall, our teams did very well. A little few upsets, but definitely a lot of good turnarounds. The biggest upset probably being the Bodo one. And then a lot of not surprising ones, which
Can we really
is
call that an upset though? Because
brother,
even though
they
both,
conceded 5 goals and scored nothing when they had a
yeah,
three
but then
nothing
you
lead.
realize that Bodo's not that great away from home.
They're
The reason
not,
they're
but keep
really
in
good in
mind they
that one
also
is because
beat
of the
Inter
dome.
away from home.
Well, yeah, but that's because Inter are terrible, if we're being honest.
Yes, but this is also Bodo. Who heard about Bodo until this season?
Well, they were mostly good in European comps because of their home matches. Because like everyone hates playing in the Arctic Circle, which is where Bodo is.
Yeah, it's called
Uh,
Norway, lad.
yeah,
It's fucking cold
Norwegian
there.
lads.
Exactly. But we'll go ahead and get into the first game. To get out the way, we'll have Matthew talk about how his team basically just violated in like several different like war crimes against Atalanta, putting the bet, and he'll go touch on to how elite German ball is to Italian. So Matt, go ahead and touch on how you scored 10 goals in two over 2 legs against Atalanta.
yeah. So a lot of it had to do with company style play. Basically, both games against Atalanta, Bayern controlled the tempo throughout all 180 minutes, I would say. Atalanta didn't really pose too much of a threat. I think that's really the basis of Serie A as a whole. And anyone that thinks Serie A is better than Bundesliga this year, well, I hate to disappoint you, but you are very deluded if you think that. Maybe the quality of Bundesliga isn't the best, but the top teams there are better than the top teams in Serie A. Um, in terms of style play, entertainment, you get your best money, you get your money's worth it with Bundesliga style play, and we saw with Bayern in both matches. First match wasn't even close. Like Bayern started out really well, got a lot of chances early on in that match. You know, First goal off a corner, Elise got a brace. Even Nicholas Jackson got on the scoreboard, so that's how you know that Atalanta, with all due respect, to them for
Jackson
they don't
and Serge Gnabry.
yeah, and Gnabry too. I mean, I will say Atalanta, still a good team. Their fans are absolutely brilliant. I will say, um, but clearly, like there's
There's
a
levels to
difference
this
in
game.
quality. Yeah, there's a difference in
You know,
quality
you
level
guys
for sure.
honestly could have started the 16-year-old in goal today, considering you had all of your keepers
Honestly, we should have.
injured,
If I'm being
and
honest,
you
we
would have
should
been
have
fine.
because like Urbig made a couple of really good saves, but at the end of the day, it was like Bayern were definitely going to score. You don't know how many Atalanta were going to get. They had to come back from like 5 goals. So, with that in mind and the fact that Bayern was going to score anyway, it just didn't really make sense not to start him. If I'm being honest, just like Rester big, you know, in case, let's say, he had some relapse of something that may have happened, based on his concussion. Because from experience, I know that, it's not the best feeling, even if you, let's say, have, a week after
When did you get a
your
concussion?
freshman year of college.
Lol.
But yeah, it's one of those. Well, regardless of that, Ono was a great tie by Bayern. Was more lopsided than I would say I expected. But even
Very
then,
one-sided. I mean, I
yeah,
expected Bayern to win, but I didn't expect an absolute steamroll.
yeah. But even then, I think it really showed a lot of quality that company has as both a coach and what Bayern have in their team. Injuries aside, which of course will be the big concern going forward, especially when they take on Real Madrid next round. But yeah, I think you know, that full 11, a full bench that they would have would be enough quality for them.
Alejandro, that touches to me since that is the next game. What do you feel about facing this Bayern super team in the quarterfinals as a Real Madrid fan?
I'm gonna say it's gonna be a tough game, but right now we're getting. I'm not gonna say most, but we're getting good players back. Mbappe came back, Jude came back. Uh, Unfortunately, Rodrigo's gonna be out for a minute, but I think we got what it takes to beat Bayern for sure.
Nah, it's gonna be a very tight game. I can't even lie to you. Although I'm gonna lie, you can call me biased, but I will have to give it to Bayern on the to edge this one, just based off Madrid's run of form. Say what you want about how they performed against City. They absolutely steamrolled City, but that also, and say what you want about Fede absolutely turning up the last couple of games for it as well.
Crazy.
It's also just, Pep overthinking and the fact that he sets up
City
his team
also have been
so
struggling in
poorly.
March.
But we'll touch onto that once we hit the Madrid segment.
Shit.
Next game, as I mentioned, the Galatasaray Liverpool. Galatasaray, who won 1-0 at home and actually could have scored more goals, but came away with that 1-0 victory with Liverpool not barely creating anything. Verts having a stinker, Salah having a stinker, and really the only person that turned up that game was Szoboszlai, as he's done for majority of the season, to be honest. But then today, as I just mentioned, when I was on the phone with you guys. Liverpool played possibly the best football they've had all season as they put four past Galatasaray today. Now, watching the game,
Yeah.
honestly it was quite impressive. It reminded me a lot of the Liverpool that we saw last season, especially when you have the right personnel, you have, you have the midfield set up the way you want it to be set up. You have Gravenberch, going up and down, being the engine that the team needs. You have McAllister playing deep. Definitely being the controller in the box to box presence that is needed. Got himself an assist as well. Defense wasn't that bad. And honestly, what can I say? Just a superb performance all around. Could this be the turning point for Liverpool? Because the team that was put out today was honestly perfect in my opinion. Like you can't field a better Liverpool team than that until like, I don't know, you bring back Isak. But regardless, that was the perfect setup today. And I think for once, majority of the season, Arne Slot got it right.
I The thing is, I'm not sure if that's going to be the turning point. I have to see more because yes, it was a really good performance. You have to tip your hat to Arne Slot for the way he set up that team today. You know, allowing both the free flowing attack of guys like Ekatike, Salah, and Verts. You know, and of course the midfield that sort of benefited those guys as well. But my main thing is that Galatasaray, we literally saw this against Juventus. They go on the road. They struggled against a 10-man Juventus team for literally a better part of that second half. So I want to see them, how they perform, let's say, against a PSG team. If they go to Paris and they play at home, because remember last
Oh,
year
I
when
think
they
Paris
played,
is gonna still would still steamroll them, but
yeah, but remember when they played PSG last year, the numbers were one sided, but Allison kept them
it
in
was heroics from
against Man
Allison,
City.
and then the
Yeah.
one moment where Nunez played the ball to Elliott, two players who aren't even at the club anymore.
Yeah, Elliot's
And
not even in England.
where is Elliott anyways? He's still at Villa. He never plays
No,
there.
I don't think I think he left Villa, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
Like, cause that was a big story, like when he left. But regardless of that, those
Alejandro,
first
did you mess with the Liverpool game?
Shit, just from the goals and seeing them. I know they only lost 1-0 the game before, but it was good to see, bro. They had their, little comeback.
I mean, I had to see Salah. Well, granted, he's had a tough time this season, but on his day, he's still their most dangerous forward.
But they're
Even
gonna play
Verts wasn't
PSG,
too
right?
bad. What's up?
They're playing PSG, right?
yeah, they played PSG, so
Well,
Yeah, it's
that's
over
gonna
for
be the
them.
challenge. But yeah, I really do think PSG is gonna probably just win that with, I would say,
Facts.
mid difficulties. Next game we have the one that no one was really surprised of, just more surprised of how ass it turned out, which is Atletico Madrid and Spurs. First game, I don't know what the hell Tudor was thinking starting Kinski and goal. I know Vicario's been poor this season, but you don't start a backup, especially a young backup like that in a Champions League tie. And then when he's shit the bed, and you can say what you want about the Atletico Madrid pitch, because I mean, I don't know why hella players be slipping and sliding over there. But why start him? That was never going to work out. The
You know,
game
the
was
funny
done
part
at
too
the
is
first leg. I watched a little bit of the second leg today solely because I saw that Spurs were only 2 goals behind. And then the minute I turned the game on, I let the go and score.
the funny part is like even Vicario when he came on the first leg and even today he wasn't even that great. So it's like
No, he wasn't.
now
He
Spurs
conceded.
have
He conceded 2 goals.
yeah, now Spurs have even more issues than, you know, the big amount of issues that they already have, which is crazy. But like you said, I was more surprised the amount of goals scored. I didn't think Atletico Madrid would concede 5 goals in 2 legs. You know, was I surprised that Tottenham conceded that many goals? Not as much. I thought it probably would be 4 or 5 goals total conceded by them. But
Try to
yeah, I
remember
think
this. Atletico, for being a defensive-minded team under a defensive-minded coach like Simeone, their backline,
it's frustrating.
quality-wise,
Yeah.
individually, isn't really all that.
They got
Yeah,
a good
because they
team
are playing
chemistry
like
that helps,
David
you know.
Hansko,
They have a
Jack.
good setup and structure that helps. But when you go against a team that's really going to pressure you, break through your block, and then you're through on goal. We saw this many times. Minute you put the pressure on them and and they can't get the ball off of you, they falter. We literally nearly came back from a 4 goal deficit against this very team.
Atletico Madrid are also very notorious for struggling in second legs,
Exactly.
which is kind of funny because it's like you would think a team that, you know, has everything go right in that first leg, even if it's at home. Second leg, at the very least, you expect some sort of defensive structure. And it seems like it's like tale of two teams in the sense like you don't know which Atletico you're getting. First leg Atleti, which gets goals, defends very well. Well,
I
for the
honestly
most part,
think that tie could have been a lot more closer in the first leg if it wasn't for the Kinski mistakes. That
for
was
sure.
already it already just sealed their fate.
They made like 2 mistakes, conceded 3 goals, didn't make a single save, and then yeah, led to that benching.
Yeah, but overall, well, Spurs run is over. They made it to the round of 16 by a mirror. I don't know how they performed this well in the Champions League to begin with. They got fourth in the standings,
Part of it
but
was due to their paper soft schedule, for being honest.
that's also kind
They
of
they
true.
didn't have a tough schedule.
They did put up a good performance against PSG though. You can't really in the Super
Yeah,
Copa.
that is
I mean,
true.
I guess so you can't really rule that out. Um, but yeah, so am I scared for Atletico in the next round? Honestly, not really. Granted, this is crazy coming from me considering we lost 4-0 to them earlier this season. Say what you want to how that went up. I don't think Flick would be that stubborn to make the same mistakes twice. And granted, we do have a little bit more injuries on our hands, but I'll touch on a little bit. But I still think that we come away with that one. I think overall, we definitely could show a lot more aggressiveness, the same way we did in the second. If we play the first leg the way we play in the second leg, that's fine. And I think we'll be able to win that. Alejandro, I'll move on to you. The Man City game where you saw Fede put a hat trick on Man City's head. And then in the second leg as well, where we were both at the gym, where at one point it did kind of look like City may had some rhythm going on, and then all of a sudden Silva just completely fucked it up for everybody. And then it was just Madrid from the get-go.
Yeah. Nah, bro. If they counted Vinny's goal that was offside, my boy scored a hat trick. You know, he had plenty of chances. I know he could do better, but Vinny's doing really well right now. Valverde, la bestia, bro. He's going crazy. And he could keep it up. I've been a believer in Valverde for already like 3 seasons at least, and I'm glad everybody can see his level now.
Nah, Valverde is definitely a very underrated piece in that Madrid midfield, especially when he's another source for goals,
For
and
sure.
majority of them are all big. But also, like I said, going back into the first leg, that setup from Pep was horrendous. Why in God's name would you play Semenyo as a 10, start Savio when he's been poor all season, and leave Rodri in the midfield by himself? Why
Also
would you
bench
play
Bro,
Cherky too.
why
Rodri,
would you bench Cherki, your best chance creator? Why would you put Kusunov at right back when Nunez was right there? Why play Nico O'Reilly at left back when he's played better in midfield majority of the season? I'm just bamboozled by this game plan because what exactly was he thinking? Why does he refuse to even bring Foden off the bench? Why does he continue to bench Nico Gonzalez when a good portion of this season he's been the man on form until Rodri came back and started getting more games after the ACL? But you can clearly see Rodri's still not ready at that level yet. God knows if he will be come the World Cup.
he was
But you
trying
just
so
saw
hard to get a
how
goal against
it
Real
was just
Madrid.
too easy. It
No
was too easy for
podía. Feel
Madrid.
me?
Yeah, exactly. It was too easy for Madrid to break down, to break down City. And then those goals from Valverde were just absolutely stupendous.
Bro, especially the last one.
Oh
Oh
my,
my
the way he
God,
flicked
bro.
it over Gay's head, bro, was
Yeah, that was
insane.
yeah, beautiful.
No, you had a lot of City fans just absolutely slating Pep for that. Is this Pep's last season? Matt, you
He get
did
the best
mention
coach
that it
ever,
could
right?
possibly be.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't want to get into details, but seems like at least from some that I've spoke to, it's looking like it. That's all I'll say.
No, I
It's looking
definitely
good,
do
Mike.
think that I definitely really do think that it's his last year. If he doesn't win anything, I think he willingly steps down because I think he's done enough. I've heard reports going along if Pep does leave, they'll bring on Maresca as his replacement. We've seen what he's done at Chelsea, which honestly isn't much, but do you think Maresca can bring something out of this team? You have an attack.
He
You have
showed
Cher
flashes, little flashes
Little
of
flash,
what he could
but
do.
with the quality of players that he has now compared to the have at Chelsea, do you think Maresca could maybe do something, not like straight up dominate the league per se, but do you think he can do something with the City side?
I think what,
He'll
at
freshen
the
it
very
up.
least, what he's shown is he has like at least some sense of like tactical, awareness with how he could sort of set up. You know, he has won two trophies with Chelsea. Regardless of what some may say, Club World Cup, Conference League, he still won those trophies at the end of the day. So there's still like some upside there. I will say with Maresca, I just think that my biggest worry with him is, you know, he left Chelsea because, I guess some reported rumors of him not getting along with the board or,
He wanted a
he
center back
also,
and they told him to piss off. I mean, have
yeah,
you seen that Chelsea back line?
it's horrible. Yeah, and there were also some like maybe disagreements with players as well, towards the end. So I do wonder, especially at City, where it's like usually they're getting the top dog, for many of these positions. Like you have Holland there, Semenyo's now there, Gay's there, midfield, you have Rodri, who's still going to be there most likely. Like the only way it's like if, let's say, players because of Pep leaving, the players also fall. If they do stay, I do wonder how he's sort of going to mesh well with that because it's similar in a way to Real Madrid, where not only you have to like coach, but you also have to manage the players. I don't think Maresca did a good enough
Yeah, his
job
man
managing.
management wasn't exactly the
Yeah.
greatest.
And that's why I think that's going to be because like it's a lot harder to manage City than it is Chelsea. So that's why I think it's
I
going
mean,
to be
Chelsea,
a bit
Man City
tougher.
have egos, but at least they're egos with quality. Chelsea have
Yeah,
egos and they're
that
all
is true.
mid. Honestly, I don't think he'll do that bad. I don't think he'll be a Pep figure, but again, it's only it's only just a rumor. Who knows who City actually bring? Who knows if City actually do want to get rid of Pep? My pet peeve with Pep is that he has Cherky and he says it's too unbalanced when he plays, yet still insists on playing washed up Bernardo Silva when he really doesn't bring anything. And he had a very poor performance in the second half. He got himself sent off, pretty much ruined the momentum City had going for them. And well, the rest is history. Vinny dunked on them and then danced in front of their faces in typical Brazilian fashion. Going on to the next game, which is my club against Newcastle. Say what you want about the first leg. Honestly, Newcastle should have won that if they had competent attackers, but they don't. And honestly, it was heroics from João Garcia, and also just the fact that Newcastle can't really score. The fact that we managed to come out with anything. My problem was the fact that we struggled to create anything. Their man-to-man press. One of my biggest issues with Flick sometimes is that when another team presses us, especially with more physicality, we get bodied too easily. And with our high line, we already get bypassed because Newcastle at least have pacey forwards. It bypasses that easily. Now, granted, we did have a few chances, but overall, it was a very quiet game. Levy didn't play well. Was honestly really the only one that somewhat had a good game that first leg. Lamine was quiet up until the penalty, so that was a pretty poor effort. Unfortunately, and Araujo, he started only just because Eric Garcia got hurt. Yeah, really was not one of the best performances. You could say that due to the weekend, due to our schedule, considering we're still fighting for the league title, that you conserved a bit what you could. Playing at St. James Park is never easy. Definitely didn't need to be that complicated though, because when you looked at today's game, considering the fact that we steamrolled them by 7 goals, we have an incredible home record. I don't think we've lost a game at home since I think last year. If
Yeah,
we can
they
play
haven't.
like
Barca
that,
have not lost a game at home this season.
yeah, if we can play like that every away game or like almost every away game like we do at home, we'd be in a much better spot. Now, like I said, we got away with a draw because for one, freaking Malik Thiaw decided to be stupid and mistime his tackle, which gave Lamine the
It was
pen.
horrendous today as
hmm
well.
And you had a lot of Newcastle fans complaining about certain ref decisions, like should Lamine have been sent off for the push on Hall? Hall honestly should have been booked for that as well. He was lucky to not get away with a second
Newcastle
yellow on
got
the foul.
lucky today too because
He
Trippier.
also time wasted a lot because like the equalizer came after, I believe the 94th or the 93rd minute. I'm like, because you might spend most of that time wasting. So obviously the ref is going to put on more time. And then today, like I mentioned before, earlier, little bit of a half and half game, mainly just because once again our high line and just individual mistakes kept costing us goals. Newcastle did do well in the first few minutes in possession. They had a lot more they had a lot more danger on the ball, created more chance. But the minute we got into our groove, the minute we managed to get by their press, we managed to put in those dangerous positions. Fermin did well to combine with Lamine and Rafinha, or more Lamine did well to combine with the both of them. Beautiful first goal. We give up a goal because of the high line once again. Eric Garcia is out of position and
To Alanga.
he's to Alanga of all players who hasn't really done well at all this season. Most Newcastle
It's
fans say he's a
crazy. He
complete
got a
flop.
brace in like what 20 minutes today, and it's like
Charity FC, giving careers to absolute nobodies, the way we do
Alanga had
things.
one goal before this second leg, and he got
hmm
two in 20 minutes.
hmm And yeah, the second goal was mainly on Lamine. I don't know why he was trying to be fancy doing a backheel at the edge of his box. We gave that goal for no reason. I think Flick was definitely pissed off from that because we were in a good place, but we gave up those goals because we were just, being too silly. So obviously the
Maybe
second
being
half,
harsh, but I do think João Garcia could have done better on that first goal because I think that angle was a bit that he took was a bit off.
I would say a little bit true. Although when you're one-on-one with the keeper, it could really go either way.
That is
Definitely
true.
think he
Yeah.
could have been a bit stronger in the hand, but a bit stronger, up front, try to intimidate, Alanga, but that was just unlucky. Overall, he didn't have the worst games, and obviously, of course, he went off injured, so we might have to rely with grandfather Chesney for the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Smoker.
But overall, though, very valid game. Second half, like definitely yelled at them in very scary German, and we came out guns blazing. Goals from Rafinha, 2 goals from Lewandowski, considering he's a geriatric grandfather at this point. 2 goals from him, goal from Fermin Lopez, wonderful passes from Lamine to set up a few of those goals as well. Him and Rafinha were definitely my man of the matches today. Bernal got himself on the score sheet as well, another youngster from the academy. Definitely a lot of ways to go in terms of how he manages the midfield, but he is still quite young coming off an ACL. But he had a fairly decent game. Even our backline was pretty good. Gerard Martin isn't a starter, but he is exactly what we need in a left center back who can defend well, but also his passing is incredible. And Cancelo, well, I mean, he really just can't defend for sh but at least on the attack, he brings some kind of danger. So I would say he definitely did a lot better partnering up with Rafinha. But yeah, so Atletico for us in the next game, I'm happy with that win. It put me in a good mood for the rest of my day at work. Matt, I'm gonna let you talk on the Bodo game real quick. I'm gonna grab my charger.
Yeah,
Alejandro,
so
feel free to add something if you want.
yeah, I mean, the main thing with Bodo is that like first leg we knew they were gonna very likely take that game, still in March, game in the Arctic Circle. I think like especially any team that's playing there, especially, a team like Sporting from Portugal, obviously used to warmer climate. Yeah, you knew they were gonna struggle a bit, and they did. Bodo definitely did dominate that first leg at home. Seemed a lot more fluid. I would say there, of course, like defensively, they were also pretty sound. Although surprisingly, Sporting did have a few chances in that match, which they didn't really take well. Obviously, that second leg was a lot different. The
No,
biggest
they
question in that second leg was Bodo going to sort of hold on defensively, and clearly they couldn't. They conceded like 32 shots or something.
No, it
Um,
was already wrapped by the time in the second half. Gonçalves got his goal, and then it was just ripped from the let-go. And they couldn't,
yeah,
they simple, they just couldn't hold on.
yeah. I think a lot of it had to do with like one inexperience. Bodo, of course, like their first time in the Champions League, first time in the round of 16, of course. But this is a team that's sort of like when they go to that second leg, they're usually very heavy in defense. They try to, I won't say park the bus, but they're a team that tries to counterattack, if they see some of the flaws in that side. But, yet, Tuesday Sporting didn't really have that. They were very fluid. Luis Suarez played really well. Trincao provided a lot in that attack as well. Julian Araujo too. Uh, but that's sort of the thing. Um, when you sort of see Sporting, of course, like they were one of the teams that finished in the top eight. I think that's one thing that has gone under the radar a bit. I would say they are still a pretty solid team. It's just more of a matter of I think they got a pretty good matchup to where as long as it wasn't a complete blowout in the first leg and 3-0, it's not great, but it's something you could still come back from. And then once it hit that second leg, Sporting started out really well and they really didn't look back from there. Maybe the first 20 minutes, Boda had a chance, but once like Inacio scored that first goal, you just knew after that
Yeah, the flow
Bodo
just
just
went
had
completely
to
against them.
hold on, and yeah, it was quite tough for them after.
Sporting did make it to the next round, the quarterfinal against Arsenal. I'll touch on the Arsenal game, and I'll only just say this. Game was boring. Saka's really, really washed. Declan Rice is still a good midfielder, and New Leverkusen sold on majority of their chances in that second leg.
Yeah,
All right, and now, but yeah, do I see Arsenal going far? I mean, they'll probably make this. I just think they against Sporting. If Sporting can play the way they did, they can definitely cause a scare. But overall, I think Arsenal might just edge that one. The real question is who will they play in the semifinal, which, well, that begs the question. Now for this segment we're all been waiting for. Johnny's rant regarding the PSG Chelsea tie. I have my phone out right here. I'm going to read it. Keep in mind, this is the first time I'm reading it, so we'll see how you guys react. All right. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Chelsea's backline is of a mid-table Division 2 caliber team. I think the early goal plus Reece James' hamstring being made of literal thoughts and prayers just demotivated the team. Baghdad Iqbali is the football ownership equivalent to Osama bin Laden. I mean, Roman had a revolving door of managers, but at least he brought a willing mentality. Blueco brought this aura farming PE teacher who's about as corny as some boomer trying to dab and say 6'7".
Go
Like, what
ahead,
the
bro.
utter fuck was that Ted Lasso huddle? We're down 3 goals because this cornball decided to play High School Musical with this "we're all in this together" shit and put a keeper who makes Sanchez look like prime Neuer. Sanchez, I mean, I don't even blame Rosenier. He's just the scapegoat. Igbali and Bully are the ones behind the mask. Last time I said it depended
But yeah,
on
that's why they
which
hired Rose in New York because like they
straight
know
from
from the off.
Strasbourg because they own the
Literally,
club.
yeah, that's why they hired him.
It's like last time I said that it depended on which Chelsea showed up. Clearly, I was wrong because this was an embarrassment. I left work early, sat in DMV traffic for over an hour to watch this. I know Matt is probably gloating about how much better Stanford and New York drivers are. Newsflash, New York drivers are still ass, and Connecticut's literally just a broken highway. It's just still better than New Jersey. And after 6 minutes, 6 fucking minutes, I had already rage quit. Fair play to PSG. They were by far the better team. At least Chelsea didn't get a red card this time. Literally every team I wanted to win ended up losing, except City, who are somehow about to let Arsenal win the Premier League this season. Although I think I'd rather have Arsenal win the league if that means Tottenham get relegated. Bodo collapsed about as quickly as the Ayatollah in Iran. And then he gives
Jesus.
his quarterfinal predictions. PSG is going to destroy Liverpool. I got Bayern beating Real Madrid. I'm praying that Sporting and the Norwegian Wi-Fi password can either lead them past Arsenal. As for Barca and Atleti, well, I hope to be showing Connor some special art projects as revenge for 2018 high school Spanish class, where I thought Alvaro Morata was a low point for Chelsea. Riveting stuff there, Johnny. Absolutely riveting
Well,
stuff there.
dude really went back to Alvaro Morata from
Oh,
how he
dude, I
started
gave him
off his
so much hell
career.
17-18 season. But yeah, honestly, I mean, the weird thing is Chelsea in the first leg did actually pretty decently, especially Enzo
Yeah,
that
they were
game.
good up and like they were
And
fine
then the
sitting in.
Cavaradonna himself, who only comes out in big games, just completely dunks on them. And of course, Dembele being the danger that he is, and Chelsea's backline, as Johnny mentioned,
Yeah, and
being
also Jorgensen
useless.
making those
Yeah, and
mistakes like
Jorgensen
late.
making the mistakes. Yeah, and then the second leg, don't even get me started. They didn't even need a try. Rosenier's out of his debt. Chelsea are washed as a club. They have too many mid players with high egos. And honestly, it's not looking quite pretty for Chelsea considering they still have a top four to qualify for.
I kind of feel bad for Rose in New York because it's like
Yeah, he was not
everyone
going to
knows it's
work.
like bully and code just like ruining everything, pulling him from Strasbourg, just to basically be the face of Blueco in the sense for Chelsea, and it's like
Yeah, it was just not
bully
going to
just
work.
hides behind that shield.
Anyways, guys,
Shout
thank
out
you
to
so much for
Barcola
joining.
and
What's up?
Mayulu. My
Oh,
boys had dos golazos. I know y'all
If
saw that.
Barcola can sort out his finishing, he's going to be an elite winger.
Yes, sir.
Anyways, guys, thank you so much for staying with us through another video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay in touch with our social media for more additional content. Thank you very much. Have a nice rest of your night, and on to the quarterfinals.